She said, "I want a divorce." I just said, "Okay." She had no idea I'd already let go. Hi everyone, welcome back and thank you for being here. Today I want to share a story that's not about dramatic fights or betrayal, but about silence, quiet heartbreak, and finally peace. My name is Caleb, and after 10 years of marriage, my wife looked me dead in the eye and said the words, "I want a divorce." That kind of sentence, those 4 words, can change everything. Whether you're ready or not, something in you shifts. And though it might sound strange, I was ready. But I didn't see it coming that day. The truth is, I had already let go long before she said it. Let me take you back. That week, I'd been covering for a coworker on leave. 12-hour days non-stop. I was exhausted. The only thing I wanted when I pulled into the driveway that night was to ditch my sweat-soaked shirt, take a steaming shower and collapse. I'd grabbed a burger on the way home. I didn't text Lena, my wife, to ask if she wanted anything. Why? Because I already knew the answer. We hadn't had a real dinner together in months. She'd stopped cooking. Stopped asking. Our home had become more like a shared space between 2 strangers. Polite but cold. Conversations were short. Functional. Like co-workers stuck in a shared cubicle. When I stepped into the house, Lena was already waiting in the living room. "We need to talk," she said. That sentence. That's the kind of line that freezes the blood in your veins. I was still wearing my shoes, my tie half undone. "Can I shower first? It's been a long day," I muttered. "No," she said, folding her arms. "This can't wait." I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and turned to face her. Her face was unreadable. Then she said it. "I think we need a divorce." I didn't say anything at first. Not because I was shocked, but because I was trying to process how she could say something so final with such calm. She launched into her reasoning. Said our marriage felt lifeless. We lacked intimacy. That it had become robotic. She painted a picture like we had simply drifted apart, as if we both equally stopped trying. But I knew better. What she called a loss of connection had been a slow withdrawal on her part. Every time I suggested we hold back on spending or budget smarter, she'd turn cold. No affection. No words. Just silence that lasted for weeks. If she didn't get what she wanted, she'd punish me with distance. She'd say things like, "Other husbands buy gifts without being asked." Or, "Why can't you just say yes for once?" I gently tried to explain our financial reality, that we needed to be careful. But she didn't want careful. She wanted indulgence. Eventually, I stopped trying to meet her invisible standards. So when she accused me of emotional neglect, I felt like she was rewriting history, casting herself as the victim in a story we both lived very differently. I asked her plainly, "Do you really believe we're beyond fixing? Is divorce the only option?" She didn't hesitate, just nodded. Then she handed me a manila envelope. Divorce papers, already filled out. Just waiting for my signature. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't even raise my voice. I just looked at her, realizing I no longer recognized the woman standing in front of me. I walked to the bathroom, turned on the shower and stepped in, fully clothed at first. As the steam fogged the mirror, I just stood there under the hot water, thinking about everything. About the nights I'd come home to silence. About how every conversation had become a battle. About how I'd once suggested therapy, and she laughed in my face. "You think I'm going to talk about our problems like some needy housewife?" That was the moment something inside me cracked. I stayed not because I still believed in the marriage, but because I didn't want to quit. But that night in the shower I realized. I wasn't heartbroken. I was relieved. I dried off, put on clean clothes, walked to the bedroom. Didn't say goodnight. Didn't say anything. There was nothing left to say. The next morning I made coffee like I always did. I walked into the kitchen and told Lena, "I'll need a few days. My lawyer should review the papers first." She nodded. That was it. After that, her behavior shifted overnight. Late nights out. Dressing like she was 22 again. Coming home after midnight. Sometimes not at all. I didn't ask questions. I didn't need to. It was obvious she had already moved on, or was trying to. My lawyer said it would be a clean split. No kids, no house, no joint savings. She had already moved her money months ago. We didn't even own much worth dividing. Just a few kitchen appliances. He gave me advice. Keep things civil. Avoid drama. I agreed. I wasn't after revenge. I just wanted to be done. When I told Lena I was signing the papers, her expression shifted. "You're not even going to fight for us?" she asked. I leaned back in the chair and said simply, "No. Because there's nothing left to fight for." She blinked. Like she didn't expect me to have already accepted it. But I had. I'd been grieving our marriage while still in it. Before the divorce was finalized, I quietly leased a small place. I moved out one box at a time. No fanfare. No drama. The day the papers were signed, I was already gone. And for the first time in years I could breathe. No tension. No passive-aggressive remarks. No silence that screamed louder than any fight. Just peace. A few weeks later, I ran into someone I never expected. Lena's best friend, Jasmine. She was in the parking lot near my new apartment. I braced for the usual cold shoulder, but instead she smiled softly and said, "I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry, Caleb. You didn't deserve that." I was stunned. Then she added, "You were good to her. Some of us saw that. She just didn't know how lucky she was." Her words hit harder than expected. Then she offered to help if I needed anything. I declined politely. I didn't want to blur boundaries. But that moment made me question everything. Was Lena always this cold on her own? Or had she been influenced by the people around her? 6 months later I got a text. From Lena. "Do you ever feel like maybe we rushed things?" I didn't feel angry or confused. Felt nothing. She asked to meet. I agreed. At a cafe, she told me she'd been thinking. About me. About Jasmine, the same best friend who tried to get friendly with me after the divorce. Lena told me that Jasmine had filled her head with nonsense. That she deserved more. That other women had it better. But after spending time with Jasmine and her real husband, who was cold, controlling and dismissive, Lena saw the truth. The man she used to admire treated Jasmine like furniture. He didn't let her speak, interrupted her constantly. Lena confessed. "I spent so much time comparing you to a fantasy that I didn't see what I had." Then she asked the question I had once begged to hear. "Do you think we could try again?" I looked her in the eyes and said, "No." 'Cause I finally knew what peace felt like. And I wasn't giving it up. I told her, "I'm not angry. But I'm done. I spent years twisting myself into knots trying to fix something that wasn't meant to be. And now that I've found myself again, I'm not going back." She reminded me of the good times. I reminded her of the nights I came home feeling invisible. She said she'd change. But she had her chance, when it mattered. I'm not someone's backup plan. I'm not a placeholder. So I wished her well. And I meant it. Because that chapter of my life is over. And this new one is mine.